Nashville, Tennessee is home to the country music industry, the Grand Ole Opry, the NFL's Tennessee Titans, and one of America's most prestigious centers of higher learning, Vanderbilt University. It's also the home of one of the country's oldest continuously operating racetracks, and tonight the Nashville Fairgrounds plays host to the ARCA Menards Series East for the running of the Music City 200. Who will drive off with the coveted guitar trophy after parking it down in Victory Lane? Find out next, live right here on Flow Racing. Hi there, everybody. My name is Charlie Krall. Welcome to Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway. It's been a busy day here already. We've already had a pair of 100-lap late model features run here tonight. Some exciting action in both of those. We'll catch you up on a little bit of that here in just a little bit. We've had practice and qualifying for the East Series teams as well. And a little bit of surprise maybe up on that General Tire pole. We'll tell you all about that here in just a minute, too. It's a cool night for racing here in the Nashville area. It's in the upper 50s tonight. We've had some rain in the area throughout the day. All that's out of here tonight. We're going to be clean and green as far as the weather radar is concerned. A little bit of a gentle breeze tonight. But the great part is, like I said, no chance of rain here this evening. We should get all 200 laps in. Easy peasy here tonight at Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway. Looks like drivers still preparing down on the main straightaway here. Looks like we are waiting for engines to be fired down on the grid. 15 cars were entered. 14 will answer the bell here for the Music City 200. We had an incident there in qualifying. One of those drivers, Nate Muller, unable to answer the bell after doing some damage to the number 06 Wayne Peterson Racing entry. And looks like engines have fired. Here's a good look at our, like I said, a little bit of a surprise General Tire Pole Award winner, Jake Finch. We'll fill you in on that General Tire Pole Award and our General Tire starting grid here momentarily. William Byron, NASCAR Cup Series star, picking up the win in the ARCA CRA Super Series 100-lapper that just finished up here a couple of moments ago. Jake Finch, Sammy Smith, our front row drivers tonight were in that race. Both of them involved in a lap one incident. Jake didn't make it through that one. Sammy narrowly escaped. Hopefully they have a little bit better luck here as engines roar to life for the Music City 200. Field bunching up to behind the pace truck as we get ready to roll off here. We'll have 4 pace laps prior to the green flag here tonight. Why don't we go ahead and take a look at tonight's race analysis for the Music City 200. Of course, we're going to go 200 laps here this evening. We'll take a break at or around lap 75 and at or around lap 125. Give the teams an opportunity to change tires, add some fuel, and make some adjustments. 5-minute break. They'll be able to add fuel and change tires on those pit stops. Just can't do it both at the same time. 6 tires for use down in the pits. I believe we'll see everybody take 2 on that first stop and 4 on that second stop. Of course, Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway, just a tick over a half-mile in length. Turns here banked 18 degrees. Sammy Smith, the defending race winner. The 4th time the East Series has raced here at Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway. Let's take a look at our Bounty Rookie Spotlight driver for tonight. He's in the number 42 West Virginia Almost Heaven Chevrolet for team owner Bruce Cook. Christian Rose is our Bounty Rookie Spotlight driver tonight. Christian, a former Division I college baseball player, and this past Tuesday was inducted into the University of Maryland Eastern Shore Walk of Fame for his exploits on the baseball diamond. Congratulations going out to him for that. Christian currently sits 4th in the East Series standings. 35 points out of the lead, but he has picked up a pair of top 10 finishes already here in 2022, including a great 10th place run last weekend up at Dover Motor Speedway. There's a good look at Christian. Beautiful looking number 42 car for Bruce Cook. Of course, Bruce picking up a win as an owner out on the West Series. Landon Lewis a couple of weeks ago out at Kern County Raceway Park. Looking for a little more of that luck here on the eastern side of the country. Now we'll talk about Jake Finch, driver of that number 1 Phoenix Racing Toyota for Phoenix Racing. He is, of course, Jake Finch is the winner of tonight's General Tire Pole Award. I'll get it out. Of course, driving for his dad, James Finch, and crew chief Johnny Allen. They had a lot of success together in the ARCA Menards Series platform back in the mid-1990s with Jeff Purvis behind the wheel. Jake timed in tonight at 19.529 seconds. That's 109.867 miles per hour around the big half mile here at Nashville Fairgrounds. Of course, this is Jake's first ever General Tire Pole Award, and he becomes the 4th driver in 4 races to pick up a pole, joining Sammy Smith, Leland Honeyman, and Taylor Gray as pole winners here in 2022. That'll lead us into tonight's General Tire starting grid. Of course, we talked about Jake Finch on the pole, Sammy Smith, last year's winner, alongside. They're in row 1. Our other 2 pole winners this season line up in row number 2, Leland Honeyman and Taylor Gray. Of course, Taylor picking up the win. Taylor picking up the win last time out at Dover. Michael Lira and last year's pole winner here at Nashville, Mason Mingus, back in row 3. Christian Rose and Donald Teege back in row 4. Matt Wilson and Tanner Arms both making their series debut back in row 5. There's a good look at Christian Rose, our Bonnie Rookie Spotlight driver. Christian getting inducted into that University of Maryland Eastern Shore Walk of Fame for his exploits on the baseball diamond. Congratulations going out to him. Currently sitting 4th in the East Series point standings. Looking to have a good run here tonight. He'd be firing off from the 7th starting position. Of course, we talked about Matt Wilson, Tanner Arms back in row 5. Stephanie Moyer, Tony Cosentino back in row 6. Brad Smith and Ryan Roulette rounding out the 14 cars ready to roll the green. Pace truck down on pit road, folks. You know what time it is. It is time to rock, roll, and rumble here in the Music City. Green flag out. Jake Finch leading them down into turn 1. Well, he's already made it farther than he did in that super late model race earlier today. Jake Finch leading Sammy Smith down into turns 3 and 4. Looks like he's going to lead him off of 4. And complete lap number 1, first lap Jake has ever led in competition here in the ARCA Menards Series East. Sammy Smith out on his tail through turns 1 and 2. Of course, Sammy, as I mentioned, the defending winner here at Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway. Defending series champion as well. Sammy had a bit of an off day up at Dover Motor Speedway last Friday afternoon. Finished back in the 5th position, gave up 10 points in the battle for the series championship. Looking to get that ship turned back around here this afternoon, or this evening, I should say. And right now, putting some pressure on Jake Finch. In the battle for the lead, there's a good look at Taylor Gray as he's all over the back bumper of Leland Honeyman. Battle for 3rd and 4th. Taylor back aboard that Ford Mustang. We saw him drive the Mustang up at Dover last Friday afternoon in its series debut. Which it had been since the 1970s. Former 3-time series champion Ron Hutcherson drove a Ford Mustang to victory in a couple of short track events back in the pony car era in the ARCA Menards Series. Mustang had never gone to victory in the East Series. First ever East Series victory for the Mustangs. We jump back up to the front of the field. Jake Finch still with a couple of car lengths in hand over Sammy Smith. Sammy got a big week ahead. Going to be heading back home to the Des Moines area next week to do a little media tour in advance of the ARCA Menards Series event up at Iowa Speedway. Here we see a battle at the back of the top 5. Christian Rose looking to the inside of Michael Lira. Side-by-side battle for 5th. Make that a battle for 7th. Rose taking over the 7th position. Tanner Arms in the 95 car following him through as well. That'll push Michael Lira back to the 9th position. There's the situation at the front of the field. Jake Finch with a 1-car length lead. Down the straightaway, that advantage disappears in the corners. Sammy Smith in that 18 car handling very well through the corners. Right now, hugging that back bumper as they move to the outside of Brad Smith down in turns 1 and 2. Ryan Roulette in the number 11 car down to the bottom side. Ryan's a pretty interesting story. B-52 pilot in the United States Air Force. Joining us here on a part-time basis. Here in the East and the ARCA Menards Series West. Good to have Ryan Roulette with us. Sammy Smith still hunting the lead. 3 car lengths the advantage for Jake Finch. Down into turns 1 and 2. Right there, coming off of turn 2 earlier this afternoon in that super late model event. Combination between the ARCA CRA Super Series and the Southern Super Series. Pole sitter Albert Francis got a little sideways and swept everybody up behind him. Sammy Smith narrowly avoided it. Jake Finch had nowhere to go. Piled in, destroyed that Phoenix Racing super late model, but Jake hopped out uninjured, looking for a little more luck here in the ARCA Menards Series East side of things. Right now, facing a lot of pressure from Sammy Smith. Sammy not known for wanting to ride around in second place. If he can get that number 18 car up to the front of the field, Sammy wants to get out and lead 2 laps. Right now, he's got to be feeling a little frustrated, looking at those Bounty rookie stripes directly in front of him. On the back bumper of that number 1 car. There's Jake making his season debut with us at Five Flags Speedway a couple of months ago. Missed the season opener at New Smyrna. His father James and Johnny Allen and Mark Reno are the guys still working on the details, trying to put that operation in place for Jake. Came together a little later than they were hoping, but in any case, Jake had a pretty good run that first time out. Qualified near the front of the field, ran up in the top 5 most of the night. Had a little tire issue late in the race, ended up finishing 8th. Jake ran for the Venerini Motorsports team last weekend up at Dover Motor Speedway. That's the only time throughout the rest of the 2022 season he's not scheduled to be in that number 1 car for the Phoenix Racing team. Right now, they are looking strong, Jake. Leading every lap to this point, despite facing some pretty serious pressure from Sammy Smith in that 18 car. Of course, the surface here at Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway known to be a little abrasive on the tires, so drivers having to make it to lap 75 here, the first segment of the race tonight, 75 laps. They're going to have to conserve those tires a little bit as we see a battle for position. This looks like the battle for 5th and 6th on the racetrack. Donald Teach in the 74 car getting pushed up the racetrack a little bit there by Mason Mingus. Christian Rose in the 42 car looking to follow him through. Christian with a pretty good run going so far in that 42 car. He's going to take over that position from Donald Teach and move up into the 6th position. battling the number 74 for Visconti Motorsports. Principal in a pretty sizable automotive dealership up in Quebec City, Canada. Had a chance to spend a lot of time with Donald at New Smyrna earlier in the season. Smoke out of the 44 car. That, of course, Mason Mingus driving for team owner Jeff McClure. Paired up to win the pole here last season. Pretty good top 5 run here as well. Ooh, Sammy Smith knocking on the back door through turns 1 and 2. I told you, he's not known for wanting to run around in second. Sammy Smith trying to use the chrome horn to take over that top spot from Jake Finch. They move to the outside. That's Matt Wilson making his debut in the number 10 car. A combination effort between Eric Caudell's CCM Motorsports team and Andy Hillenberg's Fast Track Racing Enterprises. Sammy Smith again on the back bumper of Jake Finch through turns 1 and 2. Jake Finch doing a good job keeping his composure. With Sammy Smith, not only the defending winner here at Nashville, but the defending series champion. Putting a lot of heat on this young man. A lot of drivers might wilt under that type of pressure. Right now, Jake Finch doing a real good job keeping Sammy Smith behind them, keeping those emotions in check. Already a third of the way through our opening segment here in the Music City 200. Remember, break coming up at lap 75. As we were talking about prior to that battle heating up, tire wear could become an issue here. You push it a little bit too hard too early. This racetrack is very abrasive. Only 6 tires in the pit box. You have to be pretty judicious with how hard you're going to run and how early you're going to press it here right now. Sammy Smith pressing it pretty hard, trying to get up into the lead. He could be cooling his jets right now, cooling his left side tires off. Again, work to the outside of Brad Smith down the back stretch. Stephanie Moyer in that trying to go back down in the number 01 car. Sammy Smith looking to the inside through turns 3 and 4 that time. Almost getting into the back bumper of Jake Finch there right at pit entrance. Sammy looking pretty aggressive. That's the advantage right there, a full straightaway advantage over Taylor Gray back in the 3rd position. Of course, Taylor picking up a big victory at Phoenix Raceway in the ARCA Menards series back in early March. Of course, the David Gilliland Racing team facing a pretty tragic situation on the way out to Phoenix. Transport driver Steven Stotts losing his life in a traffic incident on the way out. Taylor and the team deciding they were going to race in Steven's honor. They went out and picked up Taylor's first career victory. Then he followed it with another one, his first career East win at Dover last Friday afternoon. Taylor having a pretty solid start here this afternoon, although he's not quite able to keep these two in sight, as Sammy Smith kind of dirt tracking it through turns 1 and 2 right there. An 18 car looking pretty loose. We jump back to Taylor Gray in the 17. Of course, the Ford Mustang approved for competition earlier in the season. A lot of the Ford teams pretty anxious to get this bodywork on their car. Many of them kind of cycling through the Ford Fusion bodywork until they knock that body off on. There's a good look at one of the old Fusion body styles right there. Ryan Roulette in the number 11 car. And the battle for fourth starting to heat up. Leland Honeyman in the 02 car facing some heat now from Mason Mingus in that 44 machine. Looks like Leland's car a little loose on corner exit. Mason Mingus, that car handling very well all over the yellow line to the bottom side of the racetrack. That team construction Ford handling extremely well. Mason Mingus here as we close in on the 1/4 mark here in the Music City 200. Of course, Mason, the pole winner here last year from nearby Brentwood, Tennessee. Good to see the Mingus family back with us here in the Menards Series platform as we jump back up to the front of the field. Sammy Smith trying to stick the nose down to the bottom of the racetrack and take over that top spot from Jake Finch. Jake doing a really nice job of keeping that 18 car behind him. Sammy Smith all over that back bumper through turns 3 and 4. Can he make the move down the main straightaway here? Gonna fade to the bottom side one more time down in turns 1 and 2. Jake Finch up the racetrack just a touch. Sammy can't fill the gap. Jake Finch holding on to that lead. Good battle for the top spot. Now Sammy Smith drifting up to the top side of the racetrack. Can't make it work to the bottom side. He might as well try the top side. Right now, Jake Finch holding back all challenges. Ooh, Sammy again. That car jumping loose on him. He is definitely thrashing that automobile as he tries to work his way past Jake Finch to take over that top spot. We're going to work their way around the outside of Ryan Roulette one more time with number 11. Now Jake Finch opening up about a 2-car length gap down the backstretch. He needs that breathing room, folks. Catch his breath as we see Mason Mingus work to the bottom side of Leland Honeyman. He's going to take over that 4th position. Good run going for Mason Mingus and team owner Jeff McClure. We've seen that smoke out of that 44 car since the drop of the green flag. Apparently nothing to worry about there with Mingus. His way now through turns 3 and 4. Leader setting a pretty torrid pace. Already lapped through 7th position. Tanner Arms back in 7th, just falling a lap down a few moments ago. So Christian Rose, the final driver, currently on the lead lap. Christian about 2 seconds behind that battle between Leland Honeyman and Mason Mingus there. As we see the battle for the lead, Sammy Smith to the bottom side of the racetrack. First time today we have had a pass for the lead. Sammy Smith jumping to the top of the leaderboard. Kind of had a feeling it was just a matter of time. There was only so much Jake Finch was going to be able to do to keep a faster race car behind him. Let's see now what Sammy Smith can do at the front of the field if he's able to stretch that advantage out over Jake in the number 1. If you remember last year, folks, Sammy Smith had a restart violation. Dropped to the tail end of the field very early in the race and worked his way all the way back through the field. And eventually retook the lead and then drove away to a dominant victory. So he knows how to get around Fairgrounds Speedway here in Nashville. As now we see the battle for 5th and 6th starting to heat up a little bit. Here comes Christian Rose in the 42 car. He has caught Leland Honeyman. Leland in the 02 car. That car has been loose since the drop of the green flag. We've seen the tail end of that car hang out sideways numerous times off the corner. Right there. Jumps a little sideways right there out of turn 2. Faces some pretty serious pressure from Christian Rose in the 42. Christian, our Bonnie rookie spotlight driver. He is to the inside of Leland Honeyman. Good battle for the 4th position. Make that the 5th position. So move Christian Rose to 5th. Leland Honeyman now the final car on the lead lap, back in 6th. Of course, if you're ever at the racetrack, folks, you know, a lot of you come to a lot of these races, and you're pretty used to seeing race car drivers. They almost these days, a lot of them are very young, and they tend to be built like jockeys. Today is the day of the Kentucky Derby, and you know, a lot of race car drivers and a lot of jockeys have very similar characteristics. Well, if you ever see Christian Rose, is the exact opposite of what you would expect a jockey to look like. 6'4" former Division I collegiate baseball player. One of the few drivers I actually look up to. I myself am fortunate to be on the taller side of the scale, 6'2½"-ish. Still kind of look up to Christian every time I have a conversation with him, 6'4". Very interesting to watch his development as a driver in the last couple of years after spending some time running in the late model stock car division throughout the Carolinas. Jumping up into the ARCA Menards Series platform and doing very well here this afternoon. We jump back up to the lead, and Jake Finch doing a nice job keeping Sammy Smith in his sights. I thought Sammy might drive away into the distance, but now Jake Finch lost a little bit of ground, but not as much as we thought he would have. They have caught Leland Honeyman. Leland in danger of going a lap down here. We now complete lap 55, so 20 laps to go till we get to that lap 75 break. Sammy Smith now building a 10-car length advantage over Jake Finch back in 2nd. Leland Honeyman dirt tracking it down in turns 1 and 2. Sammy Smith picking up the victory at New Smyrna Speedway to start the season. Followed it up with a win at Five Flags Speedway, Pensacola, Florida. Taylor Gray picking up the victory last Friday afternoon up at Dover Motor Speedway. We'll see if Sammy can go 3 for 4 here in the Music City 200. Got about a 1-second advantage over Jake Finch as we close in on the first of 2 scheduled race breaks. There's Sammy driving the number 18, Kyle Busch Motorsports. Basically the same team that Ty Gibbs drove for. Sammy and Ty Gibbs were teammates under the Joe Gibbs Racing banner in 2021. Chief Mark McFarland overseeing both of those drivers, and McFarland on top of the box for Sammy Smith here this evening as well. Sammy closing in now on Christian Rose as we look to put the driver sitting in the 5th position a lap down. Torrid pace being set by Sammy Smith. Jake Finch following in the footsteps. Every step of the way, Jake starting from the General Tire pole earlier here this evening. Doing a good job keeping Sammy Smith in his sights as they move around the outside. It's Matt Wilson in the number 10. Matt making his East Series debut here this evening. And now Sammy Smith working to the bottom side. of Christian Rose. Putting Christian a lap down. Christian's going to hope. He wants Mason Mingus to stay on the lead lap for the next 10 laps or so. If Mason is able to do that, that'll mean Christian will get the free pass. Michael Lira going a second lap down. Michael in the number 60 for Josh Williams Motorsports. Michael hoping to join his parents. Michael flew north. They're both all from the Daytona Beach area. Michael flew north from Daytona to Nashville to compete here this afternoon. His parents flew down to the Miami Grand Prix. They look to spend some time down with Lewis Hamilton and the like down at the first Formula One Grand Prix tomorrow afternoon. Down there to join them as we see Sammy Smith kind of working his way through some lap traffic. Tanner Arms in the 95, another driver making his debut. Donald Teach in the 74 car as well. There's Mason Mingus. Mason sitting in the 4th position. Next driver in danger of going a lap down. Told you, Christian Rose hoping Mason is able to stay on that lead lap. It's a good look at Jake Finch. Just his 3rd career East Series start. Started from the General Tire pole. Led a bunch of laps in the early going. Now sitting back in that 2nd position. That's the gap right there. About a half a straightaway. As we come up to lap 70. As I said, a very torrid pace being set here in the early going. Sammy Smith now starting to walk the dog on the rest of the field. He's about to put Mason Mingus, our 4th place driver, 1 lap down. Still showing a little smoke out of the exhaust pipes. We've seen that pretty much since the drop of the green flag. Doesn't appear to hamper the performance of that car. As it looks like Sammy pretty content to just kind of follow Mason around here. Doesn't look like he's facing any sense of urgency to put Mason in another lap. Not another lap, but a lap. Lap 72 this time around, so we'll have 3 to go until we get to that lap 75 mark. 2 5-minute breaks on tap tonight, lap 75 and lap 125. Change tires and add fuel, make some adjustments. Not feel like they have to bring a full-fledged pit crew down here to make it happen. A nice safety measure in place. Cost-cutting measure as well here in the ARCA Menards Series platform. Sammy Smith with a comfortable lead now over Jake Finch. We come to complete lap 74. Mason Mingus has to feel like he has done something right here as he is able to keep Sammy Smith behind him and stay on the lead lap. As we come to complete lap 75 this time around. Let the cars on the lead lap cycle through with caution coming out. That will preserve Mason Mingus's position on the lead lap, and that'll give Christian Rose the free pass to rejoin the lead lap. So we will have 5 cars on that lead stanza once we go back green flag racing. We'll let the field bunch up behind the pace car. I want to say a quick hello to Flagman Jimmy Walker. We normally see Jimmy on top of the flag stand here for the ARCA Menards Series East races. Understand Jimmy's mother's a little under the weather, and he is back at home taking care of her. So Jimmy, we're thinking about you and thinking about your family tonight. Hope everything's going well on that end of things. We look forward to having you back here with us very soon. Kyle McGowan up on the flag stand tonight. Good to have Kyle with us. As Sammy Smith leads the field down onto pit road. Once the final car stops, we will start the clock for 5 minutes. Let the teams go to work. Make their tire changes, make their chassis adjustments. And we'll line them back up and get ready to rock and roll. The next break scheduled at lap 125, so we'll have about a 50-lap dash to that second break. Sammy Smith down in his pit box. While the cars are making their way down onto pit road, we're going to step away for a quick break. When we come back, we'll recap these pit stops for you. You're watching the Music City 200 from Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway live right here on Flow Racing. Welcome back to Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway. There's a good look at Sammy Smith's car as Mark McFarland. There's Mark with the headset on, kind of overseeing the first pit stop of tonight's Music City 200 for our leader. Kind of chuckling, I understand. Gotten my text messages are lighting up here. Understand you could have kind of heard me talking a little bit there on break. Yeah, I'm struggling tonight, folks. My voice is a little raspy. It's been spring cold season up here, so I was apologizing to everybody back in the tower down in Charlotte for coughing in their ears. Hopefully you haven't been hearing that, but it's definitely riding the struggle bus tonight. But appreciate you watching tonight here live on Flow, despite the fact that I'm sounding a little raspy here this evening. There's a good look at Jake Finch. Jake started from the General Tire pole earlier this evening. Led some laps. He's had a pretty good run going here tonight. Good run for that Phoenix Racing team. Of course, we talked about it at the top of the show. He was also entered in the ARCA CRA Super Series, Southern Super Series, 100-lap Super Late Model event earlier tonight and got caught up in the big one on lap 1. They really stacked him up, folks. And I'll tell you, if you want to go onto social media, go to Racing America's Twitter page. They covered the race earlier tonight. They've got a pretty good replay of that incident, and it was a big one, folks. It blocked the entire backstretch. Sammy Smith did a really nice job avoiding that one. Sammy Smith also narrowly avoided that action down there as well. But, yeah, tough break for Jake Finch. Looking for a little more luck tonight. Don't forget, folks, we're going to keep an eye out for some sweet moves here tonight. You can vote for tonight's Reese's Sweet Move of the Race starting tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Go to ARCA's Twitter page, @ARCA_racing, and cast your vote for the Reese's Sweet Move. My first nomination going to be that pass for the lead that Sammy made on Jake Finch earlier in that first segment. Teams wrapping up their work. Again, everybody taking 2 tires on this first of 2 scheduled stops. They're going to want to save that 4-tire change for lap 125. So that's why I think we saw some teams be a little more conservative in that first run of the race. Want to make sure that those left side tires don't get totally wasted on this abrasive pavement. Kind of like running on a cheese grater. You know, you push it a little too hard and you lose all the goodness off those tires a little earlier than you were hoping for. As the field now bunching up, Mark Honkromp in the pace truck here tonight. He'll get the field bunched back up behind him. Should get the one to go signal this time around. Why don't we take a quick look at the remaining schedule for the ARCA Menards Series East, presented by our friends at Menards. Ken, 3 races left on the East Series schedule, each one of them a combination event with the ARCA Menards Series. Next one coming up June 11th at Iowa Speedway, the Calypso Lemonade 200, or excuse me, the Calypso Lemonade 150 up at Iowa Speedway. Then on August 28th, they'll move up to the Milwaukee Mile. And then September 15th at Bristol Motor Speedway. The race at Iowa and Milwaukee will be shown live on MAV TV. Bristol event shown live on FS1. Complete broadcast information and ticket information available on arcaracing.com. Hopefully we'll see you at the racetrack. If not, catch them live either on MAV TV or FS1. Of course, those MAV races also stream live right here on Flow Racing. Lights still on the pace truck, so hopefully we'll get the one to go signal this time around. There we go. Kyle McGowan giving the one to go signal this time around. We'll line them up double wide. Sammy Smith electing the bottom side of the racetrack. It's the preferred groove. Jake Finch up to the top side. Taylor Gray and Mason Mingus back there in row 2. Christian Rose, of course, picking up the free pass, so he will tag on to the tail end of the field. Those are the 5 cars on the lead lap as we get ready to dash up to lap 125. We will come to green as we complete lap 79, so we will have a 41 lap run, excuse me, a 46 lap run to the next scheduled race break. Pace truck down on pit road, green flag back in the air. Sammy Smith with the jump down into turns 1 and 2. Let's see what Taylor Gray can do as he looks to the inside of Jake Finch, sawing on that steering wheel down in turns 1 and 2. He's going to give up some ground. Jake Finch holding on to that second position. Sammy Smith stretching out that advantage now, 5 car lengths already. Over Jake Finch, Taylor Gray, Mason Mingus, your top 4 cars working off of turn 4. Sammy Smith back in control, the defending winner here at Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway. Mentioned it in that first segment of the race tonight, a dominant performance here last year. Despite the fact that he had a penalty very early in the race, drove through the field, absolutely dominated here last year. Sammy led 103 laps last year. It took him 97 laps to get back up to the front of the field. And once he got there, he was gone. Let's see if he is in that same dominant form here tonight. There's a good battle on the racetrack. Tanner Arms in the 95 car, putting some pressure on Leland Honeyman. Leland in the 02 car, back in the 6th position. Leland driving for Young's Motorsports, of course, mainstay team in the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series, past decade or so. There's Sammy Smith. He's really starting to stretch that advantage now, 20 car lengths on Jake Finch as we see the 42 car Christian Rose off the pace down into turns 1 and 2. Our Bounty Rookie Spotlight driver, with some bad luck, was running in the 5th position on the lead lap. That car off the pace and apparently coming to pit road. Jake Finch in the number 1 car, trying to keep Sammy Smith in his sights. Phoenix Racing Team, of course, the team that took Brad Keselowski to his first career Cup Series victory back in 2009. The team had a lot of success in the ARCA Menards Series back in the early to mid 1990s. Everybody remembers those white and red number 1 cars with Jeff Purvis behind the wheel. Dominant at places like Daytona, Talladega, Michigan, Atlanta. The core of that team still in place. Johnny Allen, Mark Reno working on this number 1 car, as we do see Christian Rose making his way to pit entrance. Good to see the gang back together again after a couple of years off of the national scene. You know, everybody missing James Finch in the NASCAR Cup Series, and over the last handful of years, you know, good to see him kind of getting the gang back together again, as his son Jake starting to get into the swing of things. They've been competing in the super late model division quite frequently down in the southeastern part of the country. Now old enough here to compete in the ARCA Menards Series platform and doing a pretty good job at it. Check up at the front of the field. Sammy Smith still stretching out that advantage. 1.5 seconds to lead that time around. He had another 1/10 of a second to the advantage that time. Sammy Smith now 1.6 seconds in front of Jake Finch, as they have put a little bit of a gap on Taylor Gray back in 3rd. Taylor in the number 17 car for David Gilliland Racing. Of course, we mentioned it a few times tonight. Picked up the win last Friday afternoon up at Dover Motor Speedway. A dominant performance. And there's Christian Rose. They are under the left side of that car. Could be a transmission issue. That's what it looks like to me. Looks like he may have had an issue coming through the gears on that restart. My guess is it won't go in to high gear. Can't idle around in 2nd or 3rd gear here, folks. It's pretty high speed, half-mile racetrack, and a very tough break for Christian Rose. It was as high as 5th here this afternoon, looking for that first career top 5 finish. Gonna have to wait for another day, as Bruce Cook and the team trying to figure out the issues on that number 42 car. Sammy Smith still living large and in charge up at the front of the field. Coming to complete lap 98, 2 laps away from halfway here at Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway. What a great night here for the race fans in attendance. Twin 100 lap late model features and a 200 lap ARCA Menards Series event. 400 laps of racing on one ticket. Great night here at the Fairgrounds. You know, this racetrack's kind of been on the endangered species list for much of the last decade. You see our friend Bob Sargent and the folks at Track Enterprises putting a lot of effort into this facility. Of course, Marcus Smith and Speedway Motorsports also quite involved in trying to bring Cup Series racing back here, as Kyle McGowan showing the cross flags that time around. good to have stock car racing here at the Fairgrounds. Racing dates back to 1904 here at the Fairgrounds, the second oldest continuously operating racetrack in the country, right here at Nashville Fairgrounds. What do you go ahead and take a look at our Richmond water heaters midway recap? Of course, Jake Finch starting from the pole here this evening, jumped out and led the first, probably about the first 35, 40 laps until that man, Sammy Smith, worked his way past. Sammy has been in the lead ever since. Only caution we've had so far tonight is for that lap 75 break. Clean and green to this point here as Sammy Smith working his way to that second race break here tonight, coming up at lap 125. Sammy Smith, Jake Finch, Taylor Gray, Mason Mingus, your lead lap cars. Leland Honeyman, the first car off the lead lap, one lap down in 5th position. Boy, Sammy Smith just driving off into the distance now. 1.3 seconds, the advantage over Jake Finch. He swings to the outside of Michael Lira, driving for Josh Williams. Of course, Josh, former winner here at Nashville Fairgrounds. Car owner of that number 60, picked up a big win here as a driver back in 2016. First of 2 victories that season for Josh Williams. There's a good look at that Ford Mustang for Taylor Gray. And it looks like window net's still up. Christian Rose still buckled in. Doesn't look like he's in any hurry to rejoin the action as he finally, it looks like he's going to drive that car down to the inside. Looks like he is going to be calling it a day. Tough break for Christian Rose in the 42 car. Sammy Smith sliding to the inside of Donald Teach in the 74. Donald sitting in the 7th position. Good run going for him. There's the gap between Sammy Smith up at the front. Jake Finch there sitting back in 2nd. Jake trying to work his way through some of that lap traffic. Ryan Roulette down in. Having a pretty good run right now, sitting back in the 10th position, driving that number 11 car for Andy Hillenberg's Fast Track Racing team. 18 degrees of banking in the corner here, folks, and it's almost a little deceptive. Doesn't really translate on screen as much as it does when you're here in person. But a lot of banking here at the Fairgrounds, and believe it or not, it's half of what it used to be. Fairgrounds back in the 60s and 70s used to be banked at 36 degrees. You can look at some of the pictures on social media back in the day. And drivers like Darrell Waltrip ran here at the Fairgrounds on a weekly basis, banking 36 degrees. Can you imagine racing on that on a weekly basis? Unbelievable. Back then there were a couple of cup races held here every year. Music City 420. Always loved that race distance, the 420. Marty Robbins 420 back in the late 70s, early 80s. There's a good look at Mason Mingus in that number 44 car. Jeff McClure stepping into team ownership here on a full-time basis in 2022. Jeff made the transition from driver to crew chief, and now from crew chief to team owner. Spent a lot of time Last several years working for teams like Federini Motorsports, and spent last year working with Andy Hillenberg and his team. Jeff had a great run as an owner a couple of weeks back at Talladega Super Speedway with Richard Petty's grandson, Thad Moffitt, behind the wheel. They ended up with the 4th place finish on Talladega Super Speedway. Looking to better that here tonight. Right now, there's Dominguez sitting in that 4th position. He's one more spot on the racetrack. In any case, been a pretty good year for Jeff McClure in that 44 team. Leland Honeyman in that 0-2 car. Leland still 1 lap off the pace. If he can keep the leader behind him for another 7 laps or so, he's going to get back on the lead lap. That car's still very, very loose. Every time we get a look at Leland coming off the corners, he's sawing on that steering wheel. About it. You can just doing a little bit of research. 39 years ago today, we talked about the Marty Robbins 420 and a former track champion, Darrell Waltrip, picking up the win here 39 years ago today. The sad part is, I remember. I remember that race. Oh boy, I think that's telling me something. Driving for legendary team owner Junior Johnson. Boy, that was an unbeatable combination back in the day. Darrell Waltrip, Junior Johnson, boy, talk about a couple of short track racers. Didn't get any better than that number 11 car. Whether it was the Mountain Dew car, the Pepsi Challenger, the Budweiser car, Darrell Waltrip and Junior Johnson, almost unbeatable on the short tracks. And right now, Sammy Smith trying to be unbeatable here tonight. We're just a couple of laps away. Of course, I would have been pulling for the Miller High Life car back then. Bobby Allison driving for Dygaard Racing back in the early part of the 1980s. That was my preferred car, but it was tough to beat old DW back in the short tracks back in the 1980s. There's a good look at our leader, Sammy Smith. Couple of laps away from that 2nd race break here tonight. Mark McFarland and the team going to get one more swing at it here tonight. I don't know that they're going to have to make a whole lot of changes to this 18 car. Sammy Smith pretty much putting it on cruise control here tonight as he looks for his 2nd straight ARCA Menards East victory here at the Fairgrounds in Nashville. All right, lap 125 in the books. We should see the caution lights flash on here in just a matter of seconds. Second consecutive dominant performance for Sammy Smith here at the Fairgrounds. Maybe stretch it a little bit past that lap 125 mark. You know, that's why they always say, folks, at or around lap 125. And there we see the caution flag for that 2nd race break. Sometimes I think Chris Wright just does that just to mess with me. Stretches it out an extra lap or 2. Chris, of course, the series director for the ARCA Menards East. There's Kyle McGowan waving that yellow flag from the flag stand. Good to have Kyle with us here tonight. He is keeping an eye on that man, Sammy Smith, walking the dog on everybody here at the Fairgrounds tonight, looking for his 2nd straight win here in Nashville and his 3rd win of 2022. So we'll bunch the field behind Mark Honkromp in the pace truck and bring him on down pit road. Once the final car stops, we'll give him 5 minutes to make tire changes. Everybody's going to want to change 4 tires on this stop. Add some fuel, make some chassis adjustments. We'll get them lined back up on the back stretch and then fire off for that final 75 lap dash to the checkered flag. Let's see if Jake Finch, see if Johnny Allen and the guys can make some changes to that one car to get Jake back up there and contend for the victory here tonight. You gotta believe Chad Johnson and that David Gilliland racing team going to take a pretty big swing at it this time around as well. Taylor Gray, not as close to the front of the field. He's running in third, which is good, but he hasn't really contended for the lead here tonight. And we're not used to seeing Taylor not contend for the lead. So you gotta believe Chad Johnston and the team going to make a pretty big swing at it here as the field now bunched behind the pace truck. So Sammy Smith will lead him on down pit road this time around. Once the final car stops, we will start that 5-minute clock. All right. Why don't we step away really quick while the teams get to work? We'll recap all the action down on pit road when we come back. You're watching the Music City 200 for the ARCA Menards Series East from Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway, live right here on Flow Racing. Welcome back to Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway. There's the Visconti Motorsports team going to work on Donald Teege in the number 74 car. A little chassis adjustment being made through that rear window there. Not a lot of work being done. Surprise, surprise, surprise. Not a lot of work being done on Sammy Smith's number 18 car. That car has been on rails tonight, folks. Tire change already been made. Just blowing a little cool air through the radiator opening down there. And, you know, surprisingly, not a lot of work being done there on the number 1 car. I thought they might have taken a little swing at it, try to get Jake a little closer to the front of the field. But right now, Jake Finch having a pretty solid run in that second position. He will fire off alongside Sammy Smith on this next restart. Been a good night for Jake Finch. Started on that pole, led some laps here early in the going. Has stayed in contact with Sammy Smith much of the night tonight. You know, it won't take much. A little bobble maybe on the 18 car. Jake can get up there and challenge for the victory here tonight. Team's starting to wrap up their work down on pit road. We'll line them up on the backstretch and fire them off for the final 75 lap dash to the finish. Well, we got a minute. We take a look at that ARCA Menards Series West schedule, presented again by our friends up at Menards. Still quite a few races yet to be contested out on the West Coast. June 4th, first of 3 road course races coming up at Portland International Raceway. Sonoma Raceway, back-to-back road course races. Sonoma Raceway coming up on June 11th. July 2nd, we'll go back to Irwindale Speedway for the second time this year. Evergreen Speedway coming up on August 20th, the 1,000th race in the history of the West Series, dating back to 1954. That's going to be a big one, folks, and good to have Evergreen Speedway back on the calendar here in 2022. Second race of the season at Portland coming up on September 3rd. All-American Speedway coming up October 1st. The Bull Ring at Las Vegas Motor Speedway on October 14th. And the season finale coming up at Phoenix Raceway on November 5th. Each and every one of those races live right here on Flow Racing. Field rolling off the backstretch. Sammy Smith, your leader. Jake Finch in second. Taylor Gray, Mason Mingus, and Leland Honeyman rejoining the tail end of the lead lap. As we get the one to go signal from Kyle McGowan on the flag stand. Sammy going to re-elect the bottom groove for this restart. Tanner Arms in the 95 car. He's back in the 6th position. Pretty solid debut effort for that young man. Michael Lira back in 7th. Donald Teach, Matt Wilson, and Ryan Roulette round out the top 10. As we get ready to go back, green flag racing. Coming to complete lap 129. Ooh, Jake Finch didn't get going on that restart. Taylor Gray down to the bottom side of the racetrack. He's going to take over that 2nd position. Let's see what Taylor Gray can do now that he has slid past Jake Finch. That could be a contender for the Reese's Sweet Move of the race, as we're going to get the caution flag back out right away. 3rd caution flag of the night. And there you see why. Matt Wilson in the number 10 car, sideways off of turn 2. Interesting story with Matt Wilson, scheduled to drive the number 22 car for Eric Caudell and the CCM Motorsports team. Been a rough couple of weeks for Eric and that bunch. Lost a car with driver Steve Austin. Steve had an incident down there at Five Flags Speedway. Damaged the primary car. As we take a look at what happened here off of turn 2, we'll tell you the rest of that story here in a minute. Ooh, looks like he's going to have a little bit of help right there from Michael Lira. Michael giving him a little bit of a nudge down off of turn 2 and sending Matt Wilson around. Ooh, Ryan Roulette in the number 11 car. You know what? I'm going to nominate Ryan for the Reese's Sweet Move of the race right there. That was a pretty sweet evasive maneuver right there by our B-52 pilot buddy. Let's finish telling you the story of just how tough it's been for Eric Caudell and that CCM Motorsports team. You know, they, like I said, they lost the car with Steve Austin down at Five Flags, and then a couple of weeks ago lost another car at Talladega and just could not quite get caught up, and, you know, had to deal with Matt here. Called up Andy Hillenberg and said, hey, do you have your lineup set? Andy said, no, we still have an opening here in the 10 car. And they put the deal together and put Matt in the number 10. Eric's guys here on hand to help with that team, help with that effort. Good to see the ARCA Menards Series East teams working together. Make this effort happen for Matt Wilson as he gets that car turned back around. Good to see Eric Caudell and that team here. Eric took a pretty vicious hit down there at Talladega Superspeedway. Definitely was sore for a couple of days after that one, but good to see him making the effort to bring some other drivers in that operation. Eric's a good guy. A lot of desire, a lot of want to in that organization. So we take a good look at that number 11 car, Ryan Roulette. We've talked about him a couple of times tonight. Saw Ryan out at Phoenix Raceway, the first race of the season for the ARCA Menards Series West. First time we've seen him here on the East Coast. A B-52 pilot. How about that? That's a pretty cool job to have. Keep an eye on the 10 car here. As we're going to take another look at this replay. Keep an eye on the 10 car. He's going to turn sideways. It's pretty narrow down the backstretch. Keep an eye on the right side of your screen right there. Ryan Roulette doing a nice job of avoiding his teammate there in the Fast Track Racing Enterprises organization. I think that deserves a little shout out and a nomination for that Reese's Sweet Move of the race. Don't forget, you can log on to the ARCA Menards Series Twitter page tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. to cast your vote for the Reese's Sweet Move of the race. B-52 pilot, that's pretty cool. Talk about cool jobs to have. Went to high school with a guy who was the captain of a nuclear submarine. I think that'd be a pretty cool job to have, too. Of course, talking about race cars doesn't get any better than that. I think they both ought to be envious of me. How about that? We still have, what do you say, 66 laps to go here in the Music City 200. Charlie Crawl bringing you all the action here at the Fairgrounds at Nashville, Tennessee, the Tennessee State Fairgrounds here. Second oldest continuously operating racetrack in the country. In action tonight. 400 laps of feature racing here tonight, folks. Couple of twin 100 lappers for the pro late models and the super late models. William Byron made the trip up from Darlington here to Nashville. He picked up the win in that super late model race. We saw him win a couple of times here on Flow Racing back at New Smyrna Speedway during the World Series. Anytime William Byron strapping into that Donnie Wilson Motorsports super late model, you know he's going to be a contender. And he picked up the lead late in the going from Stephen Nassy, stole the win. We'll see if Jake Finch can wait till 2 to go to steal the lead from Sammy Smith here tonight. Mark Honcromp bringing the pace truck back down onto pit road. Sammy Smith bringing him back to the restart line in turn 4. Green flag back out. A little bit better restart that time for Jake Finch, but still Taylor Gray going to stick the nose underneath, try to take over that second position. 17 car looks like it's handling a little bit better on the short run here. In this last segment of the race, he's going to take over that second position. Jake Finch back to third. Mason Mingus holding on to fourth. Sammy Smith stretching the advantage. About a 7 to 10 car length lead down the backstretch already. Sammy Smith in that 18 car. He's going to want to get going because Taylor Gray, another driver not known for his patience, especially when he's sitting back in that second position. Let's see if Taylor can close in on Sammy Smith here at the front of the field. Of course, everybody taking 4 tires on that last pit stop just a handful of laps ago. Taylor Gray taking over that second position. Jake Finch back to third. Mason Mingus holding on to the fourth position. Leland Honeyman rounding out the top 5. Become the complete lap. 140. 60 laps remaining here at Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway. Sammy Smith looking for his 3rd win of 2022 and his 2nd consecutive win here at the Fairgrounds in Nashville. Taylor Gray now sitting in 2nd, coming off of his 1st ever East Series victory last weekend up at Dover Motor Speedway. Impressive weekend last weekend for Taylor Gray. Set a track record in qualifying at over 160 miles per hour and then absolutely dominated the General Tire 125. His 1st ever East Series win. And in a series that dates back to 1987, Taylor became the 124th driver to pick up a victory here in the East Series. There's the East Series, like I said, dating all the way back to its very first race, the Darlington Raceway, a combination event with the, it was then called the NASCAR Busch Grand National Series. Dale Earnhardt, the winner that day. first ever winner in East Series standalone competition. Billy Clark picking up the victory at the Oxford Plains Speedway just a couple of weeks later. We talked about the 1000th race in West Series history coming up at Evergreen Speedway. It's the 582nd race in East Series history. It's going all the way back to 1987. There's a good battle for 4th and 5th on the racetrack. Mason Mingus, he has it. Leland Honeyman wants it. Honeyman's car looking a little bit better after that pit stop. The car not quite as loose on corner exit as it was in those first two segments of the race. See if Leland can track down Mason Mingus, steal that 4th position here. We're now within 50 laps of the finish here in the Music City 200. We talked about Mason Mingus, started on the pole here last year, finished 3rd in this race, led 56 laps here last season. Not a bad little race for Mason Mingus and team owner Jeff McClure. Of course, Mason from nearby Brentwood, Tennessee, about 20 minutes away. Saw Mason on the ARCA Menards Series Tour full-time back in 2014 and 2015. Of course, excuse me, he was full-time in the ARCA Menards Series here back in 2013. Then he ran a couple of seasons full-time in the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series. Best finish, 2nd place effort. And he had a few 2nd place runs: Talladega, Toledo, Berlin. Never quite able to knock that door down to victory lane. Here's a good look at Sammy Smith as he continues to drive away from that man, Taylor Gray, sitting back in 2nd. 1.6 seconds the gap between Sammy Smith and Taylor Gray. Jake Finch sitting back in 3rd. Been a pretty emotional season for Taylor Gray so far. We talked about that traffic accident on the way to Phoenix that unfortunately saw transport driver Steven Stotts lose his life. But the team really rallied after that one. You know, and Taylor's still a young man, folks. 18 years of age, and Taylor really stepped up and kind of became the leader of the team and rallied that team behind him and said, look, this is what Steven would want. He would want us to go out and race. And, you know, he was a racer, and the team made the decision to load up another car and head out to Phoenix and racers and do what racers do. And of course, Taylor picked up his first career win that weekend, and it was an emotional sight, emotional scene. And you know, to see an 18-year-old young man, you know, face that type of pressure and do it with the grace that he did, and then of course to follow it up with another victory up at Dover a couple of weeks, or actually last weekend. You know, Taylor really getting that team rallied behind him and putting that Ford Mustang in victory lane. Kind of a historic thing for that team. David Gilliland Racing carrying the Ford banner here in the East Series. Just in front of that young man, Jake Finch in the #1 car. We talked about Jake. starting from the pole tonight in just his third career East Series start. Started from the pole, led a bunch of laps early in the going. Couldn't quite get that car going on those restarts here in the final segment of this one. Lost that second position to Taylor Gray on that last restart. Keeping Taylor in his sights, but Sammy Smith now starting to stretch out that lead over both of those drivers, as we're within 40 laps of the finish. Sammy Smith, a very impressive career for this young man. As we talked about him heading back up to his hometown just outside of Des Moines, Iowa, from Johnson, Iowa. We'll see him making a little media tour next weekend in and around his hometown. Just 11 career East Series starts, 5 wins. Looking for his 6th win. Looking to make 6 wins in 12 starts. That's not bad if he can pull it off here tonight. He has finished in the top 10. Finished in the top 5, actually, in 10 of his previous 11 starts. So that is a pretty solid career already for our defending East Series champion. Last year he had a pretty solid season. 3 wins in 8 starts. 7 top 5 finishes, and finished second in one of those races to Ty Gibbs down at Bristol Motor Speedway. That, of course, a combination race with the ARCA Menards series. Sammy Smith looking for that 2nd consecutive trip to victory lane here at Nashville, and 2nd consecutive series championship. Keeping an eye on hometown favorite Mason Mingus as he dirt tracks that car off of turn 4. Really working to try to track down Jake Finch. Mason finished 3rd here last year. Would like to make it back-to-back 3rd place finishes. But he's got about 15 car lengths to make up on Jake Finch as we're coming to 30 to go. 32 laps to go, make it that time around. Of course, Taylor Gray making his first start here at the Fairgrounds in Nashville. Taylor missed this race in 2021 as he was recovering from injuries in a non-racing related traffic accident. Once he got back in the race car, had a pretty solid season last year. Picked up a couple of wins out on the West Coast. You know, you talk about solid. Taylor has made 24 career starts in the ARCA Menards series, 22 career top 10s. 17 of those in the top 5. An incredibly consistent top performer in the ARCA Menards series. Of course, he picked up that victory earlier in the season at Phoenix. Backed it up with another win at Dover Motor Speedway, and that goes with, you know, a trio of victories out on the West Coast as well. Taylor has picked up wins in all 3 of the divisions here in the ARCA Menards series platform. Came into tonight's race just 2 points out of the lead. 2 points behind Sammy Smith. He's going to lose a couple of points tonight based on Smith's performance. Still wants to try to keep him in sight as we've got 3 races remaining. In all of those races, combination races with the ARCA Menards Series coming up at Iowa Speedway, the Milwaukee Mile, and Bristol Motor Speedway. 25 to go that time around for Sammy Smith. Sammy Smith unchallenged since we dropped the green flag for that final dash to the checkered here tonight. Closing in on the back bumper of Matt Wilson in the 10 car. Saw Matt get turned around just after that second race break. Matt still running back in the 9th position. Sammy Smith now starting to walk the dog, folks. Over 4 seconds the advantage that time around. Over Taylor Gray in second. Jake Finch back in third. Jake not able to keep up with Taylor the way that I think he was hoping he was going to be able to. Don't know what happened on that restart, whether he couldn't get that car to go into into top gear, or whether he spun the tires, or whatever the situation was on that restart. He definitely lost a little ground to Taylor. But based on that performance in the first 125 laps of tonight's race, I think Jake was thinking he probably would be able to get up there and retake that second position, but just couldn't quite get up there. Couldn't quite get up and reel Taylor in. And retake that second position. As I mentioned that, here comes the charge out of Jake Finch. He must have heard me talking about him, folks. His ears were burning. He said, I got to get going here. Within 20 laps of the finish, Jake Finch starting to light the wick a little bit here. Battle for second heating up. Taylor Gray to the top of the racetrack. Jake Finch trying to find a way to sneak underneath as they work through some lap traffic. 18-year-old Taylor Gray just in front of 17-year-old Jake Finch. You add them both together, folks, and I still have about 12 years on them. It's starting to make me feel like an old man here as these two youngsters go at it for second and third. Now just 16 circuits remaining in the Music City 200 here at Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway. Round number 4 of the 2022 ARCA Menards Series East season. Sammy Smith picked up the win at New Smyrna Speedway and at Five Flags Speedway. Taylor Gray picked up the win last Friday afternoon up at Dover Motor Speedway. So Sammy looking to make it 3 for 4 here this evening. He's got 15 laps to go. As we see now Jake Finch dive into the inside down in turns 3 and 4. Oh, so close. Little contact there off of turn 4. He's going to move Taylor Gray up the racetrack. Taylor doing a great job trying to keep Jake behind him. Little more contact there through turns 1 and 2. Jake using the chrome horn again off of turn 4. He's going to move to the inside. Side-by-side battle for second down into turn 1. Jake Finch retaking that second spot. That could be a Reese's Sweet Move of the Race candidate right there. Nice move by Jake Finch to take that second spot with just 12 laps to go here at the Fairgrounds. Impressive move by that young man to work his way past last week's winner, Taylor Gray. Unfortunately, you talk about that power move to retake second. He's got about 7.1 seconds to make up on Sammy Smith and just about 10 laps to go to make it happen. I don't know that that's enough time for Jake Finch to reel in Sammy Smith, but in any case, a terrific move to get past Taylor to take over that second position. There's a good look at our leader, Sammy Smith, as we now have just 9 laps to go here at Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway. Sammy looking for his second consecutive trip to victory lane here in the Music City. One of 3 wins in 2021. Looking to make it his 3rd win of 2022. There's second place driver Jake Finch. That's what 7 seconds looks like on the racetrack. Jake Finch starting from the pole, looking for that first career victory tonight. Doesn't look like he's going to be able to pull it off, but an impressive performance for this young man in just his 3rd career start here in the ARCA Menards Series East. And that's how much ground he has put on Taylor Gray in just a handful of laps. 3 seconds he's already put on Taylor once he worked his way past. Handling starting to slip away here late in the going with the driver, the number 17. Five to go this time around. Make it 4 to go this time for Sammy Smith as he works his way off of turn 4. Just a little more than 2 miles of racing left for defending series champion Sammy Smith in the number 18 car. He's going to work his way to the outside of Matt Wilson down the backstretch. Matt giving the leader plenty of room down into turns 3 and 4. 3 to go this time around. Kyle McGowan with a trio of fingers atop the flag stand. No pressure from behind. Sammy Smith driving off into turns 3 and 4. 2 to go this time around. Ooh, Leland Honeyman a little sketchy off of turn 4 that time. That is not what Sammy Smith wants to see out the windshield with just 2 laps to go, folks. He does not want to have to be making any type of evasive maneuvers. As we'll see the white flag that time around. Final lap here at the Music City 200. Sammy Smith working his way down the backstretch again. Leland Honeyman sawing on the steering wheel. Sammy giving him all kinds of room as he makes his way through turns 3 and 4. He'll be looking at the checkered flag. Sammy Smith picking up the win here at the Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway. Second consecutive victory here at Nashville and 3rd of the season for the defending East Series champion. Jake Finch coming across the stripe in 2nd. Taylor Gray coming home in 3rd. An impressive performance by Sammy Smith, dominant here tonight, as he is going to drive it down into victory lane and celebrate for the second consecutive season here in the Music City. There's Jake Finch pulling it down behind the pit wall after an impressive second place performance here tonight. Have to believe that a run like tonight got to leave this young man brimming with confidence as we head to Iowa Speedway here in a couple of weeks. Taylor Gray coming home in third. Going to lose a little ground in that battle for the championship here tonight, but still within striking distance. As we await Sammy Smith down in victory lane. Sammy taking the helmet off, getting the window net down. My buddy Ryan Musilowski down there, ready to call Sammy out of his car. And we will grab a quick word with our winner here momentarily. We're going to send it down trackside to visit with our winner down in victory lane, Sammy Smith.
Getting some congratulations from the crew, cold water. Sammy, just another solid round that you got out there. How was it?
Yeah, it was really good. You know, just thanks to TMC, Pilot Flying J, Allstate, this KBM crew, Mark, all the guys for making my job easy.
Well, I know it's never easy. You made it look easy, though, man. The car just was on the rail all night, really was.
Yeah, you know, we kind of struggled there to get by the one car early. Just couldn't get any clean air, but once we got out front, car was really good, and here we are.
Well, congratulations again. Another victory here at Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway.
Thank you.
There he is, guys. Sammy Smith, your Music City 200 winner.
Trophy!
There's that coveted guitar trophy down in victory lane. Second one of those that Sammy has earned here in the Music City 200. Chatting now with Billy Feltz in victory lane. Check that out. Collecting all the congratulations from family and friends down in victory lane. Bon Sus down there celebrating with them as well. Wow, just another dominant performance. He led 103 laps here last year. Going to be over 150 laps here tonight. Sammy Smith having this place figured out here in the ARCA Menards Series East. You know, we saw Jake Finch climbing out of his car just before we went back down to victory lane. And, you know, it was a long 200-lap battle for Jake, but you got to feel like he's going to be bringing some momentum out of this. And despite not celebrating down where Sammy is right now, second still a heck of a performance for a driver in just his third career series appearance with a team that didn't even exist. That team didn't even exist prior to the start of the 2022 season. So great performance tonight by Jake Finch. And another good solid run tonight by Taylor Gray coming home in third. Why don't we go ahead and take a look at the results here of the Music City 200. Of course, Sammy Smith picking up the win. Jake Finch in second. Taylor Gray coming home in third. Mason Mingus, his second consecutive top 5 run here in the Music City. And Leland Honeyman coming home in fifth. Tanner Arms in his series debut comes home in 6th. Michael Lira, good run for him tonight, in 7th. Donald Teege, Matt Wilson, and Ryan Roulette round out top 10. Stephanie Moyer, Christian Rose, Brad Smith, and Tony Cosentino round out the 14 cars here tonight. Well, that's going to do it for us here tonight at the Music City 200 here at Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway. Appreciate you joining us live here on Flow. We look forward to seeing you right back here for some more ARCA Menards Series West action the next time, coming up on June the 4th from Sonoma Raceway. Or excuse me, that one's Portland International Raceway, coming up on June the 4th. And for all of us here at Flow Racing, we appreciate you joining us here tonight. Lots of hot action on the racetrack here tonight, including this battle for the lead between Sammy Smith and Jake Finch. But at the end, it's all Sammy Smith celebrating his 2nd consecutive victory here in the Music City. Thanks for joining us here tonight. Until next time, so long, everybody.